It's officially Ravens week, and it's coming early. How do they get it done? And one thing's for certain, they have to be a full go. Today on Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. We're brought to you today by FanDuel. That's where you can get that special deal right now through September 22nd. All you got to do is lay a $5 bet, and you can get 3 free weeks of YouTube TV for all of your Sunday ticket needs for free at FanDuel.com to get started. We are going to get started looking at these Ravens with Matt Derrick, our insider from Chiefs Digest, our man on the ground, going to help us out. I'm Ryan Tracy, the founder of Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting, as well as NFL33.com and RGR Football. You can find me at all of those places. And then make sure that you like and sub and get on this channel. Check it out on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. You can get us 5 days a week for free, everywhere and all over the place, just like every other show on the Locked On Network. And if you want that much more, you can get it in the text line at 816-357-8781. Now, there's going to be X factors in this game. We're going to talk about those coming up later in the show. In particular, what the threat from the Ravens is right now, how real is it, and how different is it than the last time we saw these teams? And we are going to start right off the bat with the fact that I feel the Chiefs control their destiny. It is up to them. And the one thing they cannot do, Matt, is take it too easy. We've seen some vanilla starts here. There's no screwing around with the Ravens and then the Bengals next week. For me, you're going to make mistakes, especially with the youth on this team. But my goal is everybody comes off firing full go from the get-go. And if you're going to make a mistake, make it at full speed. Is that the right way that you see to go about it? Or would you be a little more cautious?
I mean, I think you got the right point for sure. I have a little bit of maybe PTSD, and I apologize. It's probably not the greatest reference to be making with Clyde this week, but I apologize for that. But just a flashback, if you will, to last year and playing fast and taking off maybe before you have the ball in your hands. So that's the only thing. You're right. I mean, you do absolutely need to be out, ready to come out. You need to be ready to go full speed. You need to be able to hit the Ravens hard early, but you got to do the little things right too. And so this team can't make the same mistakes that they made last year against the Lions. You do that in week 1, the Ravens are too good. You're going to lose this game. You can't have those same mistakes. If the Chiefs can't do that, don't do that, they should be, they're I think, the better team. There are things to be worried about this Ravens team for sure. I think the Chiefs are the better team, but there's things you just got to still look out for.
Okay, so if you're in the meeting, if you're talking to the offense only, we'll deal with the defense coming up here in the next segment. You're talking offense only. For me, it's catch the damn ball. Don't put it in harm's way, quarterback. You don't have to make every play. Just grind it out. What are you emphasizing in that meeting room with just the offense?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right on the point, which is that yes, you want to stress doing the right things and you want to stress mistake-free football. But I think Andy Reid wants this team to play free and easy. I don't think he wants them to be playing with any restrictions. I think he just wants them to go out there. I wouldn't be surprised if his last message to his offense was go out there and have fun. He wants them to go out there and be who they are. And this team is much more built much more to be a wide open, fast break offense than it was a year ago. When last year they really did have to focus more on the little things. And now maybe we'll find out that they're in the same spot. Maybe we'll find out after a couple of weeks, wait a minute, this team's going to make mistakes too. It's got some youth. It's got some problems. Maybe then you are going to have to focus on the little things. But I think right now, out of the box, I think Andy Reid wants his quarterback and he wants his receivers and he wants his skill players to go out there and have fun and just, just focus on that. Focus on making plays and getting things done. If they do that, I mean, I think sky's the limit for this team. I mean, and I think he wants to build up a little bit of the confidence of this offense for sure. There's obviously some confidence in this offense when Patrick Mahomes is your quarterback, but he wants, I think, to build that connection. He wants the quarterback to be confident in his receivers, in the backfield, his tight ends, with his offensive line, especially his protection, and the only way you really get that is with success. I mean, this team needs to go out there and have success against the Ravens in order to build up what they want to do the rest of the way.
So with that in mind, if you're game planning to put your team in that particular position, is it more you're drawing up specific plays based on what you saw last season, Or is it simple executables that are just maybe the easier plays that don't threaten the defense as much, but you can execute and get the ball out? How do you feel? Where do you ride that line?
Yeah, it's a really good question because obviously the Chiefs did some things really well against the Ravens last time out. It was a little bit of a tale of two halves. I mean, they were obviously much more successful in the first half and in the second half. And we're talking about the changes on this Ravens defense, but the reality is there's not that many changes, at least, when you're talking about negative changes. Yes, they have a new defensive coordinator, but the new guy has been there for a while. It's not like a total, complete overhaul and revolution of the defense. It's still somebody in the family. They don't have Patrick Queen. That's a big loss. But they've got playmakers still in a lot of places on that defense. It may not be your father's Ravens defense, but it's still a really talented defense with some good players, good coaching across the board. And that they're going to play tough and they're going to play fast. So, if you're the Chiefs, it's how do you take advantage of that? How do you play off of that? How do you counter what the Ravens are good at? And I mean, I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, the Chiefs know how to do that. They've done it before. They've put points up on Ravens defenses in the past. It's just, you have to be consistent. Last year in the AFC Championship game, they weren't consistent. They survived because the defense helped bail them out, especially in the second half. But this offense really needs to get, to me, it needs to get into a rhythm. And that's how you beat the Ravens. You've got to be able to keep them off stride. You have to make sure that they're not comfortable just laying back and coming after you in blitzes. You've got to make sure that, you make this Baltimore defense as concerned about what's going to happen as anybody else, that they're not knowing what's coming next, that they're never, able to really get their feet planted, that they're completely and totally, back on their heels the entire game. If you can do that, Chiefs have shown they can put up 30 odd points on the Ravens. I mean, it can happen, but you just have to have the right game plan, which I think they will, but you got to execute it. And you know what? I mean, that they were probably 50-50 on execution in the AFC Championship game. We know they weren't 50-50 on execution in week 1 last year. So that's the area where they've got to improve. They just have to get things done in a way that they didn't maybe in those 2 games.
You have to have respect for your opponent as well. And that's where on the flip side, how do you take the threat that the Ravens bring on the defensive side of the ball? You have number of guys to account for. What's the order and who could really hurt you? Coming up next. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Now they have a chance for you to do exactly what I do every single week. They have something a little bit different for you right now. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet just $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a YouTube base plan account, all you got to do is watch every single regular season Sunday afternoon out of market game. No problem. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel at any time. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to download America's #1 sportsbook. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make sure you check out the all-new Locked On NFL with my guy, Tyler Rowland. If you remember my time on Locked On NFL, he was my partner at the time. Now he's doing the morning show on what is a 2 times a day show with our guy, Tony Wiggins, locking it up in the afternoon. So check that out here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. I am really excited about the defensive side of the ball because such a surge last year. Now you have a little bit of a challenge coming back, but I do feel there's full potential here. The one thing in my mind, Matt, that they cannot do is take this team for granted, knowing that it's a new running back in town. And yes, maybe you're not as scared of the wide receiver threats as you should be. The tight end's coming off of a rough preseason, to be honest. But I think this threat is absolutely real. And it all starts for me with Lamar Jackson. Do you see anybody else that, should they have to take one person away, it's not Derrick Henry to me, it's Lamar Jackson? Is that how you see it?
Oh, I mean, I think with the Ravens, you're absolutely always talking about Lamar Jackson's the guy that you have to limit. That's the guy that you have to stop. You can't let him beat you in any of the multiple ways that he can. You know, he can throw the football. You know that he can scramble and make plays. You know that he can run the football on design. So, you know, you've got to stop all three aspects of that. And it requires discipline at all levels. That's the one thing against the Ravens, more so than I think any other team, is that you have to be assignment sound. If you get out of place and make mistakes, that's where Lamar Jackson can beat you, because he's looking for the holes, and he is better than almost anybody else, and maybe the guy that's opposite the other sideline this week, being able to find the weaknesses of the defense and exploit it. But Lamar's really good at seeing when guys break down, when players are playing undisciplined, where there's an opportunity, where there's a hole in the defense, and exploiting that. So that's what you got to be on the lookout for. I mean, you've got to be able to contain him. You can't let him, you know, your defensive line, it's got, especially your edges, have to play disciplined. They have to play sound. You can't focus on just getting Lamar down, because, you know, you overplay against Lamar, he'll use that against you. It takes a lot of different pieces. And Spags, obviously, they had a great design. She's had a great game plan against this team last year and executed extremely well. I mean, Ravens are still going to score. Even if you have the best game plan against the Ravens possible, they still have the weapons to get things done. But, you know, no one else is going to make a play. Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, Zay Likely, none of these guys are going to make plays unless Lamar is the one that's getting him the football. So he's the guy that you have to stop.
Now, I've heard the Chiefs defenders here this last week in the preamble to this talk very respectfully and very adamantly about defending the run. And obviously with Derrick Henry now moving to the Baltimore Ravens, a team that was already a good running team, and now you add him on top of it, that threat is even more existential in my mind, because had they carried through with the run game last season, I think the outcome could have been different. How much is this a yin and yang that you have to stop A before you can stop B? I think they're going to run right at the Chiefs. What do they do to try to stop Derrick Henry?
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, you know, the Chiefs have had a lot of experience against Derrick Henry, and not all of it's good. They've also got some new guys and new faces that haven't seen Derrick Henry, and that might be the bad thing, because until you've experienced Derrick Henry at his best, stiff-arming you and running over you, you might really not know what he's capable of. Now, there's a fair, legitimate question. You know, is this the Derrick Henry of old? What has he got left? He's obviously, you know, as Andy Reid would say for running backs, he's at that dinosaur age. He's over 30 now. Numbers wise, you could say that he took a step backwards last year with the Titans. I would say, well, before you get too excited about that, remember, Titans couldn't do anything offensively last year. So they could put 8, 9 guys in the box and just dare the quarterback to throw the football. And that made it a little bit probably tougher sledding for Derrick Henry. So I'm not ready to write him off quite yet, especially because this year he's probably going to get less usage. The Ravens got multiple options in the backfield. They don't have to run him 300 times in a season. They can be a little bit more judicious with him. And that's a problem for December teams, less so than the Chiefs, because right now, healthy and ready to go week 1, not any limits or snap counts on Derrick Henry. But to your point, you know, a lot of the criticism that the Ravens faced all offseason was that they gave up on the run rather than sticking to it and trying to beat the Chiefs that way. They gave up on it. They tried to go to the air. They tried to put the game in the arm of Lamar, and they did it before they do what they do, which is establishing the run. And that had they committed to it, maybe they win that game. So yeah, I mean, the Ravens, you absolutely expect that that's what they want to do, that they want to be able to come out and set the tone. And can they do it against this Chiefs defense, which last year played really well? And there's no doubt that the Chiefs, the last few weeks as they've been getting ready for the season, I mean, they've been doing it preparing for this Ravens offense, that they've been doing it, you know, with a heavy load up front. I mean, we've been seeing, I don't know if Mike Pennell is going to be the starter at defensive tackle all season long. I know he's going to be starting and playing a lot against the Ravens because he's one of their best run defenders. So I'm really curious to see how the Chiefs do go about this and how they do handle that, especially up front at the point of attack, because that's a big part of stopping Derrick Henry.
I completely agree with you. And there's a specific X factor that's tied to him that I think they have to accomplish. It's kind of a checklist to get this win against the Ravens in week 1. I want to see them go down it, and tackling is one of them. We're going to talk about the X factors coming up next. Passion, drive, patience. It brings the trophy home, just like the Chiefs have. And it can also affect your main vehicle, your ride or die. eBay Motors has everything that you need to maintain that vehicle, give it its peak performance, as well as over-the-top superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED lights, everything to make it speedy, powerful, and stylish, all at eBay Motors, because they have you covered. Over 122 million parts for your or die, and you'll always find exactly what you're looking for, because eBay has a guaranteed fit. Your part will fit your ride every single time, or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're not burning cash. You're burning rubber. At least you're trying to. With all the parts that you need and the pieces that you want, it's easy to turn your car into an MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions do apply. Guaranteed fit is available for U.S. customers only. I am a U.S. customer, and one thing that I am buying right now is the number one X factor for me, Matt, in this ball game to start week 1 of the entire season with the entire league watching, is it comes down to me to linebacker tackles and a lack of missed tackles in particular. Because as much as you're going to move the D-line around, and I know we have a little bit of concern there, we talked about that the other day, it comes down to executing and making those stops, and I think that's at the LB level. If you get to the deep safeties, you're already in trouble. So for me, that's job number 1, not only on the defensive side, but for this whole team. How do you see it, and what's the next factor for you?
Yeah, I'm going to be really interested to see how the Chiefs defense does approach this game, because, I think the traditional thought would be that you go into it against the Ravens. It's a run first team, that maybe you're going to be in a traditional 4-3 base most of the game. I'm not sure I see it that way. And I could be reading the tea leaves wrong from what the Chiefs have shown us the last few weeks, but I think that they're going to go with, hey, they're certainly going to have Nick Bolton and Drew Tranquil on the field a lot. You'll probably see Leo Chenal out there too. I just wouldn't be surprised if they supplemented instead with additional safeties on the field in some certain situations, and even 3 down linemen, because, Shamari Connor is an interchangeable piece, somebody that you can put into the slot, but can also play in the box, play in the back end. You can move him around and be pretty flexible with him. And the Chiefs have shown, at least an ability and a willingness to honestly play some nickel and dime packages with a lot of defensive backs on the field, and specifically safeties. Could I see some 4 and 5 safety looks from me? I wouldn't necessarily be surprised, because I could certainly see, the Chiefs wanting to make sure that they get their best defenders that are best situated for the Ravens on the field. And I think Connor and Jaden Hicks might be 2 of those guys. I'm really intrigued about the potential of Jaden Hicks as a spy, especially somebody in the box, because he is a big, physical safety. And I think that could be something that even the Chiefs want to send a message that as a physical team, if you get Jaden Hicks and he's able to make a play on Lamar Jackson, that's something that can be a signal for the future. It can be a signal for other quarterbacks to see, like, Josh Allen, don't get too comfortable thinking that you can scramble against the Chiefs like you have in the past, because Jaden Hicks got something to say about it. That's a lot to put on a rookie. I think he can handle it, though. But, between him and Connor, I think you're able to get a little bit more of a beef look from your secondary, especially as far as, guys who can tackle. Not a knock against Cam Jones or Jack Cochran, who certainly might see some playing time. And Cam Jones is, I think, your more physical backup linebacker, or more athletic backup linebacker that can get some things done. But, it's to me, how big of a game can those safeties have? I think that the safeties might be the biggest piece of the puzzle for the Chiefs in this game.
I like the way you're thinking. It's certainly something that could come down, and just rely on the rookie it's a lot to handle. That makes sense. I see the other big thing here is it's as much as Travis Kelce should be the center point for the passing game for the Kansas City Chiefs, and as much as Mark Andrews should for the Baltimore Ravens, I see it coming down to two guys that are going to line up kind of all over the place, but a lot in the slot for both of them, and Xavier Worthy and Zay Flowers. I think they have the advantage right now because Zay Flowers was able to produce against this team last season. I'm not sure that they're going to be able to dedicate the resources they want to defending him. So if you're worried about somebody getting loose, who's the X factors to watch for you?
Yeah, I mean, offensively for the Chiefs, I think there's a couple of things that they've got, for an advantage of them. And that one is that I'm not sure that the NFL is ready completely for Rashee Rice 2.0. I mean, I think he's picked up some things in the offseason. I think he looks a lot more comfortable, a lot faster in this offense than he did a year ago. And so even though you got tape on Rashee Rice, I think you're going to see him used in some different ways. I think you're going to see the Chiefs get him the ball in some different places. And that's going to be tough to deal with. Even though I think he's going to be maybe a smaller part of the game plan, but Carson Steele adds a toughness to this run game that teams haven't gotten from the Chiefs in the past, especially maybe in some short yardage situations, goal line situations, red zone. If he can add another dimension in those elements of the game, I think that gives you something for the Chiefs in some specific plays. The other thing that nobody has seen yet is going to be Xavier Worthy. Nobody's seen his speed yet. I mean, I'm not saying there aren't guys that are just as fast as him or faster in the league, but the thing is that nobody's seen it. So you might be prepared for what you think is Xavier Worthy speed. It doesn't mean you're ready for it. So I can see the Chiefs absolutely trying to take some advantages with that, with some shots downfield to Worthy early on. And when like you said, you've got Travis Kelce, that's who the defense is going to be worried about. So you're talking about all of these guys with Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy. They should be seeing one-on-one matchups the entire day. And if you can try to attack the Ravens defense and get their safeties to bite more towards Kelce, you're going to be able to free up some truly one-on-one situations with no back end help for one of those guys. And that might be if the Chiefs can get one of those and they can get a home run hit to Xavier Worthy, that could be just one play could be all it takes to win this game.
And I think it sets up the rest of the season too. Once it's on film, it changes the way defensive coordinators will try to defend them. And I think that's critical as well. Folks, we want to know who your X factors are. Leave them down in the comments below. Go over to Chiefs Digest. Leave them there. Matt does all his work over there and on his Chiefs Digest channel here on YouTube. So make sure that you subscribe there. Thanks for being with us. Matt, it's been a fun ramble, but now we're first up at the base, under the lights, ready to go. How do you feel about this? I'm going to put you on the spot for a first week prediction here.
Yeah, for weeks I've been going into this and thinking increasingly that I think the Ravens have a really good chance to win this game. And when I really got down to it, Ryan, just thinking about, who's going to win this game, what's going to happen, two things jump out at me. And one is that, I do think that the Ravens will want this game more than the Chiefs. I just don't think that it's distinctly more, because I think the Chiefs want this game too for a lot of reasons. I think that, the Chiefs want this game because I do think week one's letdown last year sticks with them more than maybe people realize. I think there's a little bit of, they know that they kind of sleptwalked through the season last year. They don't want that to happen again. They got a lot of new faces, and these rookies and the newcomers all seem to get that things are different here, that it's more real with this team. So I think you can expect the newcomers to be ready to contribute. And I just don't think that they're going to make the mistakes that they made last year in week one. That was what killed them against the Lions. It was too many mistakes. So if you don't make those mistakes and this offense performs, and the defense, I don't even think it has to be the number 2, number 3 defense that it was a year ago. I think it just needs to be a top 10 defense-ish, and this team can play with anybody. I think this offense is going to be better. So if they're not making mistakes, they're playing good defense, there's nobody that they can beat them. And I think on this night of all nights, I think the Chiefs get it done. So I'm going with Kansas City 23-17.
I like it. And a nice low one as well. Folks, you're going to get mine on the morrow here as we get ready for game time. We have a double episode for you tomorrow, both our crossover and our game review from me and Chris. And we will remember that Matt called it first. 6-point win, 23-17. I like it, Matt. We will be live post-game as well. Matt, thanks for all the time and getting us ready and getting us to this point for the season.
Always a pleasure, Ryan. Can't wait till after the game.
It's going to be a good time, folks. And make sure you join us post-game as we will be live. My favorite thing to say, you never know what's going to happen. Like, sub, hit the bell here, and check out Chiefs Digest. We appreciate you being with us.